Hello, everyone, and welcome to our highly anticipated webinar entitled Session 2 Quantifying Environmental Impact Optimizing Resources with Open BIM Quantities. On behalf of PCSS, we are excited to have all of you today as we dive into today's webinar. My name is Angelina, and I will be your host for this session. Right. So before we begin, let's go over for a few housekeeping details to ensure a smooth and engaging webinar experience for everyone. So this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our official YouTube channel. So if you miss anything, you can revisit it later and don't forget to subscribe. Secondly, please keep your microphones muted to avoid background noise and ensure clear audio for everyone. As we highly encourage active involvement from our audience, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box throughout the session. I will do my best to address them. Thirdly, the QR code for the attendance and feedback will be shared at the end of the session. So please stay until the end for you to be able to scan it. Before we begin, allow me to briefly introduce on PCSS. PCSS is a premier project management solutions provider focused on enhancing organizational profits through the implementation of industry leading practices. With expertise spanning from project management officers, PMOs, software training, integration, planning, and team management, we want to ensure our clients to achieve sustained success in project delivery. Backed by over 35 years of collective experience in project controls, we offer specialized solutions that elevate capabilities and maintain a competitive advantage. As a one-stop shop, PCSS is committed to meeting diverse project management needs. Moreover, we specialize in digital construction, covering BIM for the simulations and optimization tools such as drone, AR, VR, to name a few. This emphasizes our dedication to staying technologically advanced and providing innovative solutions for the digital transformation of the construction industry in the region. With that said, I believe we are all set for an informative and engaging session. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with a great pleasure that I introduce our distinguished speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Martin Rodriguez Cetran. Allow me to introduce him to you. So, Mr. Martin is an architecture consultant and AEC and BIM technician at CYPE or Cype Ingenieros. He is an architecture professional, having worked for years in project management and cost management, economic and legal feasibility studies, HVAC, MEP, architecture, and BIM workflows. He is a Spanish speaker and speaks English too. At the moment, he is an AEC BIM technician at CIPE, focused on specialized consulting, technical support, and training for professionals and companies in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. He has also worked in top-level training institutions such as Volcan System and the Madrid School of Architecture at Madrid Technical University in Spain. Right, so before I hand the session over to Mr. Martin, Let's watch a short video to give you a little bit of idea on what is today's webinar is going to be all about.
Open BIM Quantities is a tool designed to generate bills of quantities from BIM models defined using the standard IFC format. Any measurement rule can be established in order to transform the data contained in the entities of the model into real items for the budget. A series of intelligent rules allow elements to be filtered according to their properties and establish the amount of material that will be used for the collection of quantities of each item. In order to facilitate assigning prices to the concepts of quantities, the application allows databases to be created and used in multiple projects. Once the set of measurement rules is applied, the bill of quantities is automatically created. The results can be edited, and the application also allows additional information to be added to justify the calculation. The prices of the concepts taken from the databases can be modified to adapt them to the particularities of each project. Finally, Open BIM Quantities allows the output of bill of quantities information by means of reports that can be exported into different formats.
Right, so that is Open BIM Quantities at glance. So to dive more into today's topic, I would like to pass the session to Mr. Martin. So hi, Mr. Martin, are you?
Hi there. Thank you very much, Mrs. Angelina.
Yeah.
And thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here. So thanks to all of you today. I hope you find this presentation interesting. I'll try to make kind of a quick version so that we leave a little bit of a space for questions and answers in the end, in case there are, right? So because we like to interact if there's a chance. So should I start with the presentation now? Start sharing screen and so on?
Yes, you can start.
Okay, thank you very much. 1 second, please. I will start sharing my screen. Okay, I'm with 2 screens here. So I should be sharing a presentation screen right now. Is that correct?
Right now we are seeing the one that is not in full screen. Oh, now okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Great, thank you very much. So today's session is about quantifying, right? And in the title, we were suggested, and we also been discussing about quantifying environmental impact. So we give a sustainability approach to today's topic, right? So we are going to speak about the program Open BIM Quantities, which is a great tool. You've seen the video, and it is basically meant for project management, but more specifically cost management within the projects of the AEC industry, buildings, right? Projects of construction. What we have in Open BIM Quantities is a relevant tool for getting quantities information from BIM models. It's also a good tool for working in traditional workflows, and by this I mean just importing 2Ds, plans, and so on, like we've been doing for decades. So we don't need to use BIM models to use this program, but actually we make use of its full potential if we choose to read BIM models in IFC format, which is the Open BIM standard format. So what we have here is a tool that will allow us to display extract all the measurements of every quantity present in the model, right? And why is this relevant for sustainability? Well, we'll see along the presentation. Here in the title, we say, hey, optimizing resources with open BIM quantities. It is relevant to state that for being sustainable, we should care about precision in the amount of resources that we use, not only money, but also a material, right? But apart from that, in the program, we have the possibility of managing environmental related information. So the first part of the presentation will focus on the program itself as a tool for quantities management, more specifically cost management, which is maybe the most present in the building projects, right? And it's also relevant for sustainability. And then the second part of the presentation, or the last slides and the last explanations I will give, will be related with what we may do in the program with the environmental data. Because if we use certain materials, if we use certain manufacturers, if we buy certain items for our project and for the building of the project, many of these supplies, they already come as a part of the technical information with environmental relevant information, such as CO2 emissions, waste management, life cycle related information that in many places it's already mandatory, and in many places it's just getting popular as an added value for the product that we may use to build a building. So many, let's say, brands of cement, of concrete, or of steel, they no longer come just with the price information and the technical information, but also with the environmental information as an added value there. So let's say we will try to make use of that and be more precise. In the end of the day, what we're trying is to be professional, to introduce automation in our processes. And by this, what I mean is accuracy, error or mistakes, reducing, and then the technician saving a lot of his time. I don't mean by automation the possibility of substitute the person that's in charge of that process. I don't believe that it's possible, and it shouldn't. And BIM and specifically computer tools for the construction industry, for architects, for engineers, for QS, for they're like planes. I always use this example. A plane, it needs a human pilot, certified and deeply qualified to be used. It's a great tool. It's wonderful. It has a lot of automation. It has autopilot. It has safety measurement, whatever. I mean, it's fast, but it just needs the pilot. And the programs that we do here in Cype, we say Cype in English, Cype in Spanish, whatever, are professional tools, and this means they are tools for professionals. They cannot skip the fact that we need a qualified person managing it. So let's get started with the presentation. I will switch off my camera for being more efficient in the display of the information, right? And if you have any question, please, you may write them in the chat and we'll address them in the end of the presentation. I'm still here. Okay, quantifying environmental impact, optimizing resources with Open BIM quantities. This is the program I will be showing. The video in the introduction already displayed a bit of the concept. And we start by speaking about the BIM server.center. What is this? This is our platform. It is a web platform. Actually, the BIM server.center is the actual address. You may write in your web browser just BIM server.center, and it leads you there. in the web browser, right? It is a common data environment. To put it really simple, it's a place in the cloud where we may store the information of the BIM models. And specifically, this is the environment that we use in Cype to work in our BIM workflows, right? We upload and download the information of our models, the information of our buildings if we are using BIM in that place. So all the different programs we have, as we may see in the image, we have programs for structures, programs for MEP, programs for just documenting or for management, like the case of the Open BIM Quantities, programs for calculating metal structures or calculating and designing and making the professional project of the water supply, energy simulation, and so on. So all those programs, there are different programs because they are meant to be used by different specialized professionals in an actual code-based workflow with the program not only modeling but also calculating, automatically sizing, generating reports automatically with the checks against the codes of each possible place, right? So we have the complete projects of different disciplines that are part of a building project, right? And all these different programs, they can read the information from each other by using this common data environment, which is the BIM server.center. This is the common place where we may read the model from the different programs and where we may send from the different programs information there to be read then by other programs or just to be displayed, shared, and so on. So this is the BIM server.center, the place where we work, right? And I explain this because the Open BIM Quantities I will be explaining now, it's a tool for reading and measuring and generating takeoffs and then builds of quantities from an architectural model or from a building model. That model can be a BIM model, which would be the case of be reading something from within the BIM server.center, or it could be a 2D traditional workflow. Then we just need to import the 2Ds into the Open BIM Quantities program. But in case we're using the BIM, we necessarily need to upload the model here and then use the Open BIM Quantities to read that, right? BIM server.center, apart of being the place where we work, it is a free tool, free to use, free to register, unlimited storage capacity. So I actually encourage you to go visit it and actually test it. And then it is not only that, but it is also the place where we may find all the programs from Cype, right? To download them, test them, and so on. Many of them are actually free. Many are not. And there are also programs not just from Cype, there are programs from other developers too in that environment. But all the programs made by Cype are there in the BIMserver.center and specifically in the store area of the platform. So we could write store.bimserver.center and we could see all the information of all the programs that we have and download them, test them, see examples, so on. So if we are talking about Open BIM Quantity, there are different possible sources of information for this program, right? We could start working in a traditional way. So if we have the model of the building in 2D, just the architect having sent us the plans in DWG, from AutoCAD, DXF, or just image files or PDF, for example. So in that case, we could directly import it into the program, right? That's a possible source, 2D. Then it could be the case that we don't have a 2D source, that we just have a 3D BIM model. Maybe the architect sent us a Revit file. Maybe they just shared through BIM Server Center their BIM model. It could come from any modeler, ArchiCAD, Allplan, Revit, you name it. Blender with the Bonsai add-on, that's free to use. Or our own, we have Cype Architecture, which is a free BIM modeler professional one, specifically for the geometry of a building. And I encourage you to test it. That's for free, and that you may find in the BIM server.center, right? Cype architecture, another possible BIM modeler. The requirement is that we use the IFC format, whatever the source of the model is, to be allowed into BIM Server Center and into Open BIM Quantities. And then it may be the case that we don't have a BIM a 3D BIM model only, but we may also have a BIM model and then partial BOQs coming from somewhere else, maybe from a specialized project of MEP. So we may have these three different situations: having plans in 2D, having 3D model, or having many things. There's a BIM model and then the partial BOQs and also 2D plans, a mix of everything, right? So in case it's a 2D, it's easy to decide. We have two options. We may import the 2D documents directly into Open BIM Quantities, floor by floor, and measure that manually, as we've been doing traditionally for decades, right? Or we could decide to go from those 2D documents into a BIM workflow. So if we use Cype architecture, as it is a free BIM modeler, we could have that transition with a free tool. By just importing 2D files into Cype architecture, we can model from that easily and turn the document into a BIM workflow. And then we could have that into BIM Server Center and use that model in Open BIM Quantities, right? So if we have a 2D source, it doesn't mean that we need to necessarily go traditional and just go with the 2D into the Open BIM Quantities. We could actually go from 2D into BIM before starting with the takeoffs and BOQs process. If you're talking about a 3D or a BIM model that we have as a source of information, I always highlight two relevant concepts. Where does this model come from? And it is really important to have consistent modeling criteria. Where does it come from? And by this, I mean, is it around is it around that develop the model? Is it our own team maybe, or is it from an external collaborator? In that case, what is the criteria that they're using? It is really different if they model columns, for example, from floor to floor, that if they model it from floor to ceiling. For example, we are maybe skipping 30% of the volume of column in the second case. So in that case, we should apply one specific formula when we measure the column in Open BIM Quantities. We could do that, but we need to know what is the criteria of the modelers, and that is relevant. If we can control the criteria, well, that's great. If we cannot, we need to be aware of the limitations of the modelers. And then it could happen that we can have not only a BIM model or not only other BOQs in text, or in digital format, but a mix of everything. So in Open BIM Quantities, we have tools to do with all that. Here we have an example on this going from 2D to 3D BIM process, right? These are examples made with the Cype architecture program. And what is the information that may go into the Open BIM Quantities and that we may expect to get out of it? Well, we could introduce BIM model as long as it is IFC format, right? If the modeler is our own, Cype architecture or IFC builder, they are both free modelers that we have. Well, they have just a direct connection with the BIM server.center. They have buttons in the program that they lead the model into the platform. They upload that into the cloud, right? So then we just directly may import it into Open BIM Quantities. If it is another BIM modeler, ArchiCAD, Open, Blender, you name it, you could just generate from those programs an IFC file and then drag and drop the IFC file into the BIM server.center web platform. And as easy as that, we have it available to be read from Open BIM Quantities. And if it is Revit specifically, we could do that same thing, or we could actually use our plugin Open BIM Revit, developed by Cype, which is meant for generating an easy communication and actually really productive communication between Revit and BIM server.center. So we may send the Revit models in IFC format into the BIM common data environment that we have and use the model from the Open BIM Quantities, right? We could also send information from other programs that are our own, CypCAD or Cype 3D or StruBIM. Still, we have structures program that they generate not only the modeling, but also the automatic sizing, automatic calculations, and checks against the codes, the concrete codes, the steel, the metal codes. I mean, we do professional structures projects there, or the MEP programs, and all these programs they generate reports and they generate BIM models, both things, reports and BIM models. So both things we can send into Open BIM Quantities, right? And if you're familiar with this, maybe you are because it's already present in Malaysia, but maybe you're not because it's recently has been implemented. We have common format, open format, which we call BC3 is a simplified name of the file extensions, but the name of the actual standard is the FIE BDC. It is a standard for cost databases or cost libraries, and also for bills of quantities. A table format similar to Excel or to Access or to spreadsheets, but specifically meant for the construction area. So that is the format of the tables we deal with in the program. And we could also import those into the program. That format has been developed in Spain decades ago, and now it's used not only in Spain, but also in the Spanish-speaking part of the planet, which is a big one, and also the Portuguese speakers, Brazil, Portugal, and the French speakers of Maghreb and France and so on. So it's like a really big part of the planet using this because it's just better than regular spreadsheets if you're dealing with construction projects, right? And also we may import CSV, comma, separate values. That's a possible output from Excel, from regular spreadsheet, and import that to generate databases in the Open BIM Quantities, right? And the output is actually regular documents, which is what we aim for when we're getting a BOQ. And with specific formats, we have automatic generation of documents. And of course, we have the output of this standard format of the table. So we may share information between files from one project to the next, between different collaborators, with a really productive workflow. Instead of sharing just regular tables in CSV, we have a format specifically meant for the quantities. And this format and these databases features that we have in the Open BIM Quantities, they will also allow us to manage environmental related information, not only cost related information. It's advances we've been achieving in last years. So in the Open BIM Quantities, we have two parts of the program. We have one tab, which is called the Quantities of the BIM Model tab, and then we have another tab that's called the Bill of Quantities tab, right? The Quantities of the BIM Model tab, it has basically three main features actually. The first one it is a really interesting BIM explorer. It allows us to explore the BIM model that comes from somewhere else. It displays all the information of the 3D BIM model, not only visually in 3D with tools for exploring like orbiting, moving around, exploring the 3D, highlighting, cross-sectioning, so on. But also we have the features to check the list of the entities that are part of the model. I mean, every element that is present in the model is listed in the IFC format element with the trace information. And also we have a properties panel in the lower left area of the screen that displays specifically the information of the quantities of each of the elements that are present there. So if we just select a wall, the program will just display, hey, this is the volume of the wall, this is the length of the wall, this is the height of the wall, this is the width of the wall, this is the net side area of the wall, and the gross side area. The net side area would be the lateral area of the wall, discounting the opening, the windows or the doors area. So we have those values already there without having to be making operations. So that information is just already existing from the fact that it has been modeled in 3D, and we just display that. And in the entities panel, we're just displaying the amount of everything. For example, if we just click the IFC door area, we will see the amount of doors that we have in the project. We no longer have to be counting the doors one by one, floor by floor into the plans anymore. I mean, it was good to do that, but now we don't have to. We just click the IFC door area and it says, hey, we have 22 doors in this project. And if we go level by level, hey, we have 12 doors. I mean, all the information is already there. So we have tools there to just display it, right? Apart from being an interesting BIM Explorer, the Open BIM Quantities in the Quantities of the BIM Model tab, it's an interesting codes database editor, right? It is a place where we may create or edit, modify databases, libraries. We call them codes databases, but actually what there is like libraries of possible solutions, possible items that are part of the project, right? So if we have a model in 3D of a building, we may have, hey, this is an IFC wall, right? And this is actually an IFC wall that's this thick. And maybe even we have a material type name in the model and so on. Because if the modelers, they are good and proficient, they may add more information. But that's one thing. But in the real world, in the real life, and in the actual projects that we need to document and quantify and everything, a wall could be many things. It could be brick plus air chamber plus insulation plus finish. It could be one handcrafted artisan, like only from this area, specialized like solution for a wall. We have maybe one specific bricklaying disposition that's not even bricks. Maybe it's just one specific material coming from clay or whatever. So we could have a regular solution for a wall, brick plus insulation plus air chamber plus finish, or we could have a handcrafted thing that's locally artisan made, or we could have one prefab industrialized wall, which is just one block with everything. And the complete technical information of those different items is completely different. And the prices, of course, they're completely different. And even if we're talking about the same kind of thing, just a concrete blocks wall, it could have really different prices according to the brand. So what is a codes database? A place where we may store all that possible different solutions for the same item. And the same happens with all the items of the project, and even things that are not items, but maybe clearing of the plot, excavation, licenses, hours of labor, skilled labor. So all those things that may be priced and that need to be priced to get a building, they may be listed in the codes database. So all that is what we have. And I mean, the quantities of the BIM model tab is meant for managing both things, exploring the BIM model and exploring our own codes databases to then join both worlds and attach to one specific element of the model, one specific item from the database, right? And then the second part of the program is the build of quantities tab. So there we just need to use the automation tools. So the program will run the automation processes. It will read the model, measure it, and then read the items that we attached from the codes database, and automatically not only measure the project, but also price it. And of course, in the build of quantities tab, we have also all the manual tools to just manually introduce the data that we need if we don't want to automate, or if we just want to modify later what we have automated, right? So we all have all the tools there to manage the information. Codes database editor is what just was explaining. To put it really simple, it's like a menu in a restaurant. For the first part of the meal, we may have different possibilities. We have soup, salad, we have small like fried whatever, right? And that's just for the first part of the meal, the first dish. The same happens in a construction project for the columns, for example. For a column, we could have metal column, concrete column, mixed, just a metal column within a concrete column. It could be, even if it's metal, it could be this or that kind of profile, this or that kind of material. So all these possible items that could take place in the place of that column. And that's why I say it's like a menu. For the first meal, you may choose this, that, or that. So the codes database is the place where we may actually pick what is it we're going to use in our project today, right? Where do we have the information? Where do we get the information from? Our users, we have massive amount of users worldwide, by the way. I haven't mentioned that, but there's lots of them. Our users, what they do is usually get that information from their previous BOQs. Maybe if they're new users in the Open BIM Quantities, for example, they just get the information from the last year projects. The last year BOQs already contains that, contains the descriptions of the solutions, the unit for measuring that, the description of the code for getting that, and then the price per unit. So you just need to easily introduce that in a table format, and you have that available for all your projects, and you will be able to use it for automation. We may also import CSV files and import them into our codes database editor. CSV is a possible output for spreadsheets, for Excel files, for example, which is what may send that. And you may also import BC3 files, which is the format that we use in the Open BIM Quantities, from previous works of the Open BIM Quantities itself. Or from manufacturer catalogs, we could have the information of the price per unit, the description, and so on. Excuse me, I think we have somebody not having blocked his microphone. Okay, there it is. There we go. So to access that codes database editor, we have a button over there in the upper left area of the screen, and we access that. So the concept is we have a BIM model, we have a codes database, and we just mix both worlds by defining measurement rules in the program, right? And from that, we obtain automatic pricing on the BOQ. We no longer have to be manually writing the 80 pages of a BOQ. We just set the rules so that the program will automatically get that documents right for us. And then we just need to check and edit, of course. This doesn't mean that you just may forget about everything or not need a QS. I mean, you need it. You need somebody to actually read that, check it, and modify it usually, or add more information and so on, right? So this is a tool for the QS professionals over the engineering or the architecture professionals. This is not a tool for that would allow us to not have those professionals. I mean, it won't happen. So what are the measurement rules? Well, it's simply a part of the program where we just may tell the program, hey, I need you to select this amount of elements, the walls, and specifically the exterior walls, leaving all the rest of the model behind. And then once we define the selection criteria, we simply attach to that selection criteria, to that things we picked, items from the database. So if we selected the exterior walls, we just need to tell the program, hey, to these exterior walls, we'll assign brick plus earth chamber plus insulation plus finish, or one single item that has all that already priced, right? So we have easy ways to access the database from within the measurement rules area. So we just need to go pick. It looks confusing because many panels and tables, but actually if you go step by step, it's actually easy. You just need to be picking element by element, and that's it. We have plenty of webinars, by the way. Well, plenty, a few of them in our in the web page with the information and the learning resources of the Open BIM Quantities. So if you Google Open BIM Quantities, or if you just access store.bimserver.center and look for the Open BIM Quantities program and click the website button there, It just leads you to the webinars. We have to explain how to do all these and put detailed information in text with detailed information. And so once we've done those things, read the model and actually edit the databases, and then defining the measurement rules, we get automation in the bill of quantities, right? We just need to click the updated quantities button, and then we have a BOQ automatically there in this table format that we just may copy paste into a spreadsheet, and we may actually edit all that after the automating process. So we have the last word on the documents, right? And apart from that, we may get these documents automatically in the BOQ reports part of the program. Quantities report, cost breakdown structure, price bill of quantities in the format of a table, the quantities with prices, with quantities without prices, BOQ summary, and see the lower part of that list, specifications and environmental impact indicators, construction and demolition waste, and so on. And not only that, but also graphs on all that. If we have more than just a model to read and to measure, if we have other bills of quantities included in the BIM project, if we have other BC3 files or other CSV files, or if we have more than just one model in the same BIM project, we have tools to deal with all that. So it's actually easy to manage. About the Malaysian SMM2, the program is compatible with, it has compatibility with that. And actually it comes with an example of a code database that's consistent with what the SMM2 requires for the documents, right? So we have the information structured in an example so that your items and your code database structure may get your documents be consistent to the SMM2. Actually, that's news from this year, or maybe not this year. Actually, from 2024. It's just we're starting the year yet. But it's been a few months or it's been months. So it's actually more or less new, right? It's already there. It's already tested. Actually, we say the SMM2 because it's an example already there of a code database that's consistent with the format. But all the post-UK kind of traditions for the codes are compatible with these formats. We just need to structure information the way the law of that place is they say that should be structured, and that's it. Let's go into the sustainability part of it, right? Of course, just being accurate in the quantities and accurate in the cost is already being sustainable. Over consuming, over wasting is always against sustainability. So this is the part on the first obvious step, right? But if we are talking about BIM workflows, we see that we have different stages and different areas of the BIM world. Let's say we have spatial information, time management, safety, performance, maintenance, cost. So we've been addressing costs here, but we also have sustainability. And sustainability, it is information that also already most manufacturers or many manufacturers they're introducing within their technical information, apart from the actual resistance of the material or cost, like money related information. They're also starting to introduce, hey, waste management information, carbon pollution, risk information. It's always starting to be already there. So what do we need to do here? Make use of that information in a professional way. So again, we are doing this kind of merging of the BIM with the databases world with this Open BIM Quantities program. And we may use standard formats and open formats that are not owned by just one company. Well, the idea is that we introduce in the BIM in the process of measurement rules and the construction database, the data of that constructive solutions related with the environment, right? Specifically, if we add not only codes but environmental information in the databases, all this automation we're achieving for the pricing process, we are also achieving for the management of the sustainability information. It's a complete upgrade. We no longer have to manually be measuring everything twice to not only price I mean, we've automated the cost process, right? Measure everything and put a price to it. But then we should, after that, go measure everything again and not only put a price, but also the environmental impact or environmental cost to that if we're going sustainable, right? We'd automated both into one same tool. We automate the BOQs and the takeoffs, but also we are automating the management of that information. So we easily may detect, hey, we're being sustainable, or we are maybe using a solution that's not really environmental friendly, right? So what does this mean in the program? Well, in the same BOQ, or the same way that in the BOQ you may get the quantities and the price per unit and the total price for one item or for the whole project, we could start introducing the energy cost in terms of energy units, joules, MD, right? Or in terms of carbon emissions, CO2. Usually, this, for example, in a few of our projects, and there are examples that come with the program, these CO2 emissions is already being taken into account with certain concrete brands and cement brands. They already have the study per cubic meter of CO2 meters, CO2 emissions measured in kilograms, for example. So if we use that, and that is used, we add that information in the cost database editor, the same as we add the price. We could, if we want to, add the energy cost information, the CO2 emission information. The waste mass, see that we also may introduce that information. And then, so we have not only the amount of everything, but also the energy cost, for example, with that breakdown, with emissions per cubic meter, with energy cost per cubic meter, and we have graphs, and we may see in the slide, we have graphs displaying that. Where is the impact in terms of environmental impact taking place in our project, right? In what stages? We have analysis for that. And this is really interesting to have. Same happened with CO2 emissions. The same way we just add a technical description with the brand of the item and the cost of the item, we may add the kilograms of CO2 emitted per cubic meter of cement. If the manufacturer has that information, and they should, we are just dealing with this. The same happened with the reinforced concrete, the steel information, and so on. So we're just getting not only into the sustainability for being accurate and not over consuming, but also into managing the data of this sustainable related information, right? And the same happened with waste mass, because when we start excavating for generating footings or substructure, we already know the volume that we need. At least we need the volume of the footing because it's actually in the 3D model. So all that information may be translated into kilograms of waste. And if we have the information of specific solutions, let's say frameworks, I mean, different products, they have different information, and the location will mean longer distance to the garbage waste area. So it will mean more impact. But I mean, we have that information and we may use it, right? And same happen with the total waste volume, not only total waste mass. So what we have is not only automation in the takeoffs, measurement of the project, and the pricing of the project, the BOQs, but also into the information data, we have that possibility already there. So that would be it for today. Thank you for your attention. I will activate my camera again in case you have any question. Of course, we have a small time for that just right now. But if you come out with new questions, or if you want to have not only technical information, but also, hey, I want to test that program. Hey, technical questions within the program if you start using it, or just whatever question you may come up with, just we're glad to get your contact. It's there in the slides. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Martin, for the captivating topic of quantifying environmental impact, optimizing resources with open BIM quantities. So as we reflect the possibilities unveiled during the presentation, so let us move to the Q&A session. So, dear audience, if you have any question, please use the chat box in your webinar interface to type them in. Right. While we are waiting for questions from the audience. Okay. Mr. Martin, I have a question for you. First question is from your sharing, we know that Open BIM Quantity is able to automate the bill of quantities from just from the BIM models. However, that doesn't mean that there is no challenge to it. So, what is the main challenge you find when measuring BIM models, and how do you overcome it?
Yeah, that's a good question because improvements and updates and just new features doesn't mean that we don't have new difficulties coming with them, right? Specifically, what I find from my experience most challenging is when we have to deal with a BIM model in an IFC format, but it's the same with any format, actually. If I am not the modeler, and I cannot be the modeler for everything because because it's time consuming, right? So the biggest challenge I find is to deal with or being aware of what is the modeling criteria that the modelers have used. Many modelers, I mean, many persons that use BIM modelers, they might not be proficient in what they are modeling. I mean, maybe they're just modeling what they are told to model, or maybe they are actual professionals, but they have their own professional criteria that may be completely valid, but I'm not familiar with that. So the example that I put in the presentation of modeling just one column from floor to floor in a structure or from floor to ceiling, it's just one simple thing, but it's just really relevant. Same happened with people if they model walls as a wall element, which is what I do and what I recommend. People modeling wall elements as many wall elements, even before knowing what are they going to build. But many people, they just randomly model walls as 3 layers of 3 IFC walls elements instead of one. Or I just seen things as ridiculous as modeling columns, something with the shape of a column, but when you go to the model, it's actually an IFC wall element. So it kind of looks like a column, but it's actually modeled as a wall. So that's the most extreme cases. What do we need to do to overcome that? Well, if we have the possibility to get in touch with the modeler, hey, get in touch with him, optimize the processes and the criteria so that you have the same in your future projects. And if you don't have that information, what I do is try to be aware of the limitations of the model and then use the formulas that we have in the program to deal with all that. If I have a column that it lacks 30% of its volume because it's wrongly modeled, well, I just need to apply, when I measure, a formula that's a possibility in the program to say, hey, this column is 30% more. And this is the reason, right? Those simple examples. I mean, modeling criteria and then use the tools of the program to overcome the modeling limitations. That's my point of view on the main challenges. There are more, right?
Right. So we just received one question from the audience, Sylvester. He asks, "What if there are changes to the design of the building? So what would happen to
Oh,
the yeah?"
yeah, that is a really good question, and I'm thankful for that because I actually didn't mention that, and it's relevant. Um, it's not a problem. I mean, one of the big advantages we have if we try to deal with BIM instead of just traditional workflows is if there is a change, a geometrical change in the model, let's say they just remove one floor, or they remove half of the building, or just one room, right? We've just changed the geometry of that 3D model. It is not a problem for us, or it is a minor problem compared with what we had before, which would be we just need to measure everything again manually, right? It's not the case. What we have to do is simply the change of the model. It needs to be sent into BIM Server Center. I mean, just resend the model into BIM Server.Center, and then from the Open BIM quantities, just read the new model with the new geometry. And what we have is the program reading the new model. So we just need to update from within the Open BIM quantities to read the new model, and then in the BOQ part of the program, click update the quantities again, and the program will measure again the new model, and that's it. But see that the selection criteria doesn't need to change. I mean, if we told the program to select all the walls, it will still be selecting all the walls. It's just there will be less walls in the model. And if we told the program to attach to the walls this item, well, that hasn't changed. There might be less amount of wall or more amount of wall or more amount of slab or more amount of everything, but the rules and the criteria are the same. So you just need to update, and you have updated the whole BOQ documents and the takeoffs actually. So this is a really good question. Thank you there, but it's a big advantage in going BIM and going with this kind of tools.
Right. Before we end the Q&A session, I actually have one more question. This is from myself. So this Open BIM, when it comes to software, of course, there would be like minimum requirements to run the software. So, if like Revit, it would require certain memories, RAMs, graphic cards, and all. What about these Open BIM quantities?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, to get the answer in a professional way to that, you would need to check the Cype.com webpage or the BIMserver.Center in the store area. And if you click the webpage button in each of the programs, it will lead you to that. I mean, we publish that information, right? But to put it simple, if we compare with the requirements of any BIM modeler, for example, or any 3D CAD tool, the requirements of the Open BIM quantities are much smaller than that. So if we have 3D CAD programs in our computer, or if we have a BIM modeler in our computer of any brand, I mean, it's not a problem to have the Open BIM quantities as a requirement. And also the Open BIM quantities, I didn't mention that because really FAQ and so on, we have all that tools. And also in the contact, if we contact with the company, the technical support is part of the deal when you use our program. So you may just email us and we'll answer everything. But in the Open BIM quantities, in the upper right area, there's a small button where we actually may reduce the quality and the requirements of the 3D work environment, and that's it. So we can actually not need the same amount of power in the equipment as if we would have to as if we had to model. It's not a modeling tool. It's just a tool for managing documents, information, and yes, we read 3D models, but the requirements are less. So I know it's not a really precise answer, but the precise answer is published in the web page. It's just less requirements than any CAD program.
Right. Thank you for your answers. So, everyone, in wrapping up to this session, we have been treated to a session that was both informative and inspiring as well. And a
Thank you very
special
much.
thank you, a special thank you to our speaker, Mr. Martin, for sharing his valuable insights on this open beam quantity. And honestly, from myself, this is like my first time of hearing that there is software that has the ability um, to automate bill of quantities, because normally we would do like manually on Excel referring drawings. So I believe there are a lot of opportunities with this software. So before that, okay, do you have any last words, Mr. Martin?
Oh, just thank you for being here. Thank you, Mrs. Angelina, for your words too. And it's been a pleasure for me. We've been collaborating with Malaysian institutions for a few years now, and we're more than glad to see that we have these interactions and that people are interested. Actually, as you say, this is not the only tool existing for getting the BOQs out of the BIM models, but it's one of the few ones. There are actually not many of those. There are few. I mean, you may count them with the fingers of your hands. And actually, this is a good one because our company is the source of pretty much that kind of workflow from my personal point of view. We started decades ago with that. But yes, what is easy actually to get from the BIM models is the quantities, the takeoffs, just the listing of the amount of everything. The step of getting from there to a BOQ, pricing, technical information, so on, that is what we do have, and few other tools have. There are other people there. But yeah, I encourage you to test it. Thank you everybody for being here, and please do not hesitate to explore our webpage, contact with us. We're more than happy to interact. Thanks.
Right. So additionally, before we depart, we have a moment ahead as we present a certificate of appreciation to Mr. Martin for his contribution as today's guest speaker.
Okay, thank you
So
very
here you
much.
go. This is your certificate. We'll email it to you later on.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Right. So let's move on to the next part, the photo taking session. So before we conclude the webinar, let us capture this special moment with a virtual group photo. So with that, I invite the audiences to open your camera as well with us.
Hi everyone. Thank you for being there.
Okay, give me a moment. Right, so currently we have 3 slides over here. Okay, let me see if everyone has opened the camera. Right, so, okay, right, so everyone, let's smile for first slide. 1, 2, okay, the first slide done. Okay, second slide. Let me move second slide. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And last slide. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Right, so let me share my slides again. Hang on. Okay. So, um, before we depart, we would like to share some of our services, right? If any one of you interested for demo on our services, or interested to participate on our trainings, kindly contact us at the contact that we will display after this. So currently we have Primavera Physics. Okay, we have Synchro 4D Pro and BIM courses. You can yeah you can check you can reach us out through this contact over here if you would like to if you like for to ask for further information. Right. So to ensure we accurately track your attendance and provide you with the e-certificates, we kindly request your participation to scan and fill in the attendance from the available screen. Okay, so you please do scan the QR code for your attendance and your certificate. And with that, I would like to a big thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us. Your participation and engagement has made this webinar a success. We hope you leave today with a deeper understanding on open BIM quantities. Once again, thank you for being a part of this enlightening session. We look forward to seeing you in future webinars. On behalf of PCSS, stay safe and we see you soon.